Welcome back to the Gentleman's Garage. Today's a pretty awesome day. A question that we get asked quite a bit, and quite honestly, a question that I do a lot of research on before I go to buy a car is, hey, what does it cost to maintain some of these older Ferraris? Obviously, they didn't quite have, the technology and things we have today. They definitely didn't have that Ferrari 7-year warranty back then. And so I spent a lot of time on the internet researching that before I bought some older cars. And I thought, hey, we're in a unique opportunity. My rarest Ferrari that I own is actually here today. We're going through all that, and I thought about bringing you guys along. Had to get the Speciale Aperta out today. Again, one of my rare cars. Haven't driven it much in the last 2 months. We've been playing with so many other new stuff. And of course, been spending a lot of time with the Ferrari Challenge Racing. So excited to get this thing back out. And as rare and cool and special as this car is, we're here at H&S Motorsports today, who works on some of the most rarest unicorn Ferraris, Lamborghinis, a lot of the exotics, mostly Ferraris. It's really crazy when you walk through here. And I'm gonna bring you guys along because I pulled up what I thought was a special car, but as I walked through, I realized it might be the least special car here today. Right behind me, we've got the 308 GTS. I'm sure you guys may remember Magnum PI, Tom Selleck back in the day. This is just like the one from the TV show that he did. Even has the target top. It is a GTS. Super cool car. I'm really loving to see the way these things are going up more and more and more in value. Well, I think a lot of us are finally getting to an age where we might could afford something like this, and so that's increasing demand and appreciation for them. And now what you see, which is really fantastic, is, maybe 10, 15 years ago, this car didn't quite get the love that it deserved. And so people would get really far behind on the maintenance because, the value of the car versus, a big engine out maintenance type of situation is very costly, and kind of the ROI didn't make sense. But now you see them, the values have gone up. They're getting a lot of love and appreciation again. And I'm starting to see some really well done cars that are being restored, getting their engine out services done, back on the road, running great. So that's really cool to see. But that's just the beginning. Right behind here, we have where it all began. We talk about the big 5 hypercars of Ferrari. It all started with a 288 GTO. And it is incredibly rare to see one of these in person. I've only seen maybe 2 in the entire time that I've been collecting cars, and I've been collecting cars since about 2010. So this car is in fantastic condition. The owner of the shop actually was cool enough to fire it up. I never heard one run before. This one's running great. It fired up just like a modern car would. They've done a really great job with it. This one, I think, is about ready to go back home to its owner. We keep moving along here. The unicorns just keep coming. Needs no introduction. Ferrari F40. This is a Euro spec car. Just had a complete engine out service done on it. Absolutely beautiful car here. So as you can see here at H&S Motorsports, Harris, the owner, he is the most trusted guy, definitely in Houston, probably in all of Texas, when it comes to the really rare, really special Ferraris. It's like me in a candy store, because every time you walk by one car, you look up, there's another special car up ahead of it. As we go past the Ferrari F40, up here on the left, 275 GTB. What an absolutely beautiful car. In my opinion, I think this is one of the most beautiful cars Ferrari has ever made. This car is actually in tip-top shape. I happen to know the owner, wonderful guy, and he's getting ready to make some fun adventures with that car. Really cool to see it. But again, as I said, here at H&S Motorsports, everyone with the really special stuff, they trust no one other than Harris to do their cars, and I have definitely grown to be the same way. We got the Ferrari Testarossa. So let's remember, there was 3 different variations of the Testarossa. The original one in the 80s, we all remember the white one from Miami Vice. And then they perfected the car in the early 90s, I think 91 to 94. They made about 2,600 of these, a little bit more than 2,600. This is the 512 TR for Testarossa. They made a lot of modifications. This is a very, very good version of the Testarossa to have. If you're gonna buy one of those, this is, it got perfected. It got the benefits of a little bit more modern technology. They run better. They're a fantastic car, and they're just so iconic. The side flares on the Testarossa, I think, will forever stand the test of time of just the ultimate cool looking car. We have one of my absolute rarest Ferraris that I own here today. After the 512 TR, Ferrari made 75 of what we have here, my 512M. This was the swan song of the Testarossa. They only made 75 of these for the US market. And you may remember this car. This was actually in our very first YouTube video. I bought this car back in, I think, October of last year. The car had won platinum before at Cavallino. I had never done a show of that caliber before. Yeah, it was in great shape, obviously, but it needed some work. It needed to be kind of polished back up and kind of brought back to show quality. That was a really awesome experience. My wife and I entered it in the show, worked with a great team. curated there in Miami to, get the paint polished and go through the car and get everything show ready. And as you've seen that video, we did bring it back to its glory, and the car ended up winning Platinum at Cavallino. I want to collect the absolute best specs of cars that I possibly can, but I'm going to drive them. These are supercars. They were built to be driven like a supercar, and that's exactly what I do. The reason I bring that up and why that's significant here today is, yeah, the car was running and driving great, won Platinum at Cavallino, but it had been a beauty queen. It had been a garage queen for the last, I don't know, was that 17 years since 2007? It had not been out on the road. It had not been driven hard. That engine had not been revved out, and it was apparent. Again, it ran good, but when you get a car out and you really start putting it through its paces, old gaskets and hoses and anything that's rubber has aged. The valves are going to start leaking. You're going to start having problems, and that's exactly, we knew that was going to happen when I bought this car because even John at Curated said, Lewis, you're buying a car that's we can get it back to platinum level, but if you're going to drive it the way we know you drive your cars, this car is going to probably need an engine out service pretty soon. If you notice, look how much gap is between the tire and the fender. Car's sitting, it's almost like it's jacked up on air ride. And by the way, the lift's got it all the way down on the ground. Same thing with the front. And there's a very good reason for that, because this car literally, when we say engine out, this car literally has no engine. So we have taken the engine out of this car, and we have been going through it extensively. And I think now's the time to introduce the man of the hour that we've been talking about, the mechanic, the owner of this shop that I trust implicitly with all my really special stuff. This is Harris. So Harris, good to see you, buddy.
Hey man, how are you?
How are you? I'm fantastic. Well, it'd be better when you get my car back together.
Hey,
you can see it's pretty damn empty in there. There's absolutely nothing going on in this car right now. We knew this was going to happen. This was part of owning a car of this caliber that just had not been driven hard. And Harris knew the moment that I was buying this car. He starts chuckling himself and he goes, Lewis, that car, it hasn't had the kind of maintenance that you're going to require on a car. So we start talking about suspension because, ball joints get old and things like that. Same thing with the engine. And so Harris, on a car like this, the engine's supposed to come out how often?
About every 40 years.
About every 4 years.
Yes.
All right. And normally when you do an engine out for one of these cars that, let's face it, these are very rare cars. They're very valuable cars. And I respect people not want to drive them. Maybe they don't want to get out on the road because someone could hit their one of 75 Ferrari and you can't replace it. I don't think Mako's going to be able to fix that fender for you. So, so I get it. They don't get driven that much. But normally when you're doing an engine out, what do you got to go through? What do we get?
Yes, so besides the engine out, like you see, it's already out. That's no question about it. Besides that, also, you go through all the coolant hoses. See the back there, thermostats pulled out, radiators flushed, and then naturally, engine bay checked, all the other hoses. If it's dry rotted or anything gets replaced, engine bay is gonna get cleaned up, painted. So pretty much it looks like the day when it left the factory before the engine goes back in the car.
Yeah.
So that way, because once the engine is in the car, that's really, really difficult to get to the coolant pipes and all that. So that's why they call it engine out service. It's more than just service on the engine. There's actually the engine bay that gets taken care of because, like I said, the coolant hoses, especially, look back there. You have the hose there, plus there are hoses there. So that all gets included once this engine comes out.
So what is it about, we're talking a lot about hoses and gaskets right now because that's what you can see here. And in a minute, we're going to go, Harris has an engine room here and my engine's actually in there, completely disassembled. So pretty cool. I wanted to be able to bring that to you guys and show you what the engine looks like, completely disassembled. And I got to be honest with you, I wanted to see it myself. What is it about these older cars, right? If, in the SF90, 296, even the Speciale Aperto I drove up in, we don't have to drop that engine every 4 or 5 years. Yes. And I understand the way they were designed, you got to get the engine out to access certain things. But what is it about those components that require to be serviced and changed out every roughly 4 years?
Back in the day, the technology wasn't that's today.
Okay.
So the silicone hoses, the rubber. So due to, like on these cars, we put everything OEM. It has to be original just because what the car is. And then plus, you don't have a whole lot of aftermarket parts for it.
Right.
Which you don't want a new car like that.
For sure.
So basically, everything has to be gone through because, especially here in Texas, it's extremely hot, it's extremely humid.
Right.
So with the heat, with the age, rubber will dry, gaskets will dry. The reason why the engine comes out is for the timing belts. Anything up to a 348 has just a regular rubber timing belt, which is due every 40 years. 348.
Why is that? Because the rubber starts getting away and it starts losing time?
Running out, deteriorating. So that's one thing. And trust me, you don't want that thing break. That's up to the 348. 355, 360, 456, 550. They do have a new style timing belt, which is infused with the Kevlar. Those you can push up to 5 years.
Is that more sensitive to time or is it more sensitive to miles?
Time, it's the most. Because like I said, a lot of these cars, they just sit around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, I have the air-conditioned garage, this, that, and the other. Yeah, that's all fine. But still doesn't change the fact that the rubber, it's 90s technology,
right,
which it's not even close to what they have these days.
But you're replacing it with modern belts, modern hoses, but you're saying, is it the same rubber compound that it still disintegrates the same?
It's the same.
Interesting.
Because it's an OEM part.
Oh, because it's OEM part. All right, you got me there. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So what you're really telling me is you and I need to go into the belt and hose making business for these older cars. That's what we need to do.
We are in the wrong business, trust me.
Yeah. Talk to me about the suspension.
Suspension. Also, the suspension, we're going to see it in a minute, is just the age that got to it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that before you, this car didn't see that many miles.
No.
Definitely was not driven as hard as you drive your cars. So we're going to address the suspension for you. And same thing, everything comes out, everything gets clean, everything gets painted, bushings gets put in.
Bushing gets replaced. Shocks got to get rebuilt.
Exactly, shocks, the front suspension, upper lower ball joints, outer ends of the tie rod. Then we're gonna do the alignment, so pretty much we're gonna get it to be as new as the day as it left the factory.
What about brakes, right, on this car? This car has disc brakes?
Yes, they are disc brakes, they are Brembos with the drilled rotors, so the brakes on this particular car are okay.
Yeah.
So, because like I said, even though they do get glazed, but there is ways around that, especially if you start using them hard.
Yeah.
And they do like to be used hard because more you heat put in them, better they grip, better they stop.
I took my 296 GTS on track. That thing performed like a champ. I sent it to a dealership to get the work done on it, and they were telling me, we've never seen this white line on the brake pads before. It's heat. So I was talking to the guys that manage the race team, and I was telling them that the mechanic was calling it chalked. And we're all car guys here. Look at the look on Harrison's face. No one's ever heard this term of chalked brake pads. We took the wheel off my challenge car between testing at Watkins Glen last week. And the mechanic goes, you mean that white line right there? And I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, that's called heat. He goes, that means you finally bedded the brake pads in. He goes, congratulations. The dealership's probably never seen anybody actually bed in brake pads on a modern Ferraris. Nobody drives them that hard. I'm so excited to finally get this car back. Harris, you said you'll have this done in what, 2 days?
Oh, absolutely, yes. There are two different situations. If we do a timing belt, which is just done on that one, without pulling the heads that we have to do on yours, so that to pull everything out, get it out, put it on the stand, take it apart, clean everything, paint everything, put it back together, put it back in the car, get the car adjusted, get the car tuned. That is usually about 65 hours.
65 man hours.
Man hours. Now, when I say 65 hours, yes, we probably spend about 100 hours on that.
Because now he's trying to tell me he gives me labor for free.
There is always a hiccup, an unexpected thing. And like I said, the biggest issue with these cars, you cannot just pull it out, put it back in. The cleaning process, once the engine comes out, first we degrease it, then we clean it with the acid, then whatever gets taken apart gets blasted. Painted, clean some more, because we try to, when the engine goes back in the car, besides running well, it needs to look right.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, this is, nothing against the Hondas or any other cars, even though that work needs to be done, but it has to look right.
Well, this is a work of art.
Exactly, and especially when you come as a customer, you don't have to take the cars to the show like you do. When you open the hood, you need to see, oh wow, that looks better. Oh my God, look at that. So basically, it goes a lot of work. It goes into this that most of the time they don't see behind the scene to what it takes, to how long it takes.
He knows I'm going to drive the car the way it was meant to be for the supercar of 1995, but then I'm going to turn around and want to show it as a one of 75 super rare car. And so he's got to go through this thing. It's a fine line. He's got to build it to be driven. But then he's got to make it, beauty pageant ready, we'll call it, right?
Pretty much, yes. We got to get it ready for the show.
So I'm super excited to get this car back. And at this point, what I really like to do, and what I think would be really cool, is let's go look at the engine. I'd love for you to show me what we've done to it, what's left to do, and why we're doing it.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right,
Come on.
go to the engine room. So here we are. This is, you know, not forget, I failed to mention this. This is the end of the line of the flat 12 from Ferrari, right?
Yes.
This car was it. This was it. They only made 75 of the 512M for the US. M stands for Modificata. And we'll talk a little bit about what all was modified from the TR to the M. But right now, I mean, this is the star of the show, a flat 12-cylinder engine, end of the line for Ferrari. I've never seen this. This is really incredible to see out of the engine. Aren't there supposed to be some big, beautiful red heads up here?
Kind of, sort of.
Where is all that?
Well,
So
that's
talk to us.
off.
Okay, all right.
That's off.
So we'll start with the heads, okay? Because one of the things that I mentioned earlier is if I didn't drive the cars the way I drive them, this engine out service would not require a lot of the things that we're about to talk about, which was the heads. Because I drive the cars the way they are, they do age, but that's okay because, you know, there's a give and take. Some people aren't driving them. They're not revving out a very rare 1 of 75 car to the limit, and I am. So that's just, hey, Enzo, I think, wanted it that way. So I think I hope I'm doing good by him. We discovered that we were having issues with this car, combination of age and then the way that I choose to drive the cars. And so that was in the headers. You want to tell us all about that?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Look at that. You see that oil in there?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so basically the piece is here. That's your valve guide.
Right.
Then the valve goes through it.
Right.
Well, this is not for your car, but it's something so you get a better understanding, which I know you know. The seal goes on the top. So basically what happens, this is a modern seal versus the seal on this one, it's a Teflon seal.
And it gets disintegrated over
There
time
you
due
go.
to the fluids, right?
Yes, due to the sitting.
Yep.
It just age, it dries out, and then you hop in the car and put it through space as the temperature goes through the roof. So that's what happened. They do have a problem with the valve guides because they're bronze and they tend to wear.
Interesting.
Yes, so also sometimes when they wear, because that's supposed to be a super tight fit,
Yeah.
but not tight, that needs to go in and out. Then when they wear out, as you start revving it, the valve picks up the vibration, and I've seen when they will actually knock the valve seat off its place.
Wow.
And then the oil starts to go in there, and then we got a problem.
And is that what happened? Was it because of that Teflon?
Yes, the Teflon seal. Valve seal, yes.
That was starting to allow oil to get into this car, and we at one point thought it was running a little bit rich in one bank. Actually, we had O2 sensors going off on the car now because it thought it was overheating.
Yes, that, and then the car had the harder plugs in, which we figured out later why they had harder plugs. So now we know the car's at the problem.
Yeah. So fun fact: somewhere along the way in the service history, somebody had an idea that the valves were leaking a little bit of oil. So to compensate for that, they put a hotter spark plug in, kind of masked the issue a little bit. I don't think it was done maliciously because the pedigree and history of this car is really phenomenal. We're redoing all the valves and the seals.
Yes,
okay.
All the valves, all the seals, new guides, new seals. After that, the valves, they're gonna get cleaned. They get put into place. We're gonna cut the seats and lap the valves in. So we need to make sure it seals 100%.
Right. And do you do a pressure test on that? Or?
Yes, after that, and everything gets done in the house. I don't send my stuff outside because you have to have a good machine shop, and it's very hard to find a good machine shop these days. It takes them a long time to finish, which we know that's not your forte.
I hate for them to sit.
Also, another problem is, you see, you had a slight leak on a head gasket. That's just a little bit of old gasket, but like I said, so get this, the car, whoever owned the car before you, probably was driven every blue moon.
Oh yeah, it did not move much.
You get in it and
start pushing it.
Exactly, so that's what happened. Like I said, common, I've seen this happen before.
Okay.
Nothing that not gonna get addressed.
So what's going on all up here? Is this the
new
timing belt?
Timing belt.
Yeah, so this is it. Here we are. Is this new?
No,
right.
not
Original
yet.
timing belt. We haven't changed it out.
So these are the ones. So basically, when you were talking about the engine out, so look, on the engine out or timing belt service,
yeah,
you probably stop about this way.
Okay, so don't have to do the headers.
Yes, and then most of the time we will split the engine. So that's your engine, that's the gearbox and the engine sump.
Okay.
So they sit on top of each other.
Ah.
So we will split that, and we will reseal the front cover and rebuild the water pump. If you don't do that, now put this engine back in the car, and a month later the water pump seal gives out, guess what? I have to pull the engine out.
Oh my God.
So instead of us doing that 10 times, you do everything at once. Now, some people, they say, oh yeah, you know, I've seen people do a belts in the car,
Yeah.
which is completely wrong. Because can you do this in the car? Probably. First off, it's not right, it's not correct because of two things. Once you do the belts, it's not only like, you know, the cars, they have the timing marks.
Right.
So, you know, oh, you put this one here, this one here, send it down the road.
Yeah.
On these cars, it does not work like that.
Okay.
Because that is when you put it on the mark, that's just initial for you to safe to roll the engine. After that, we do use the degree wheel as per Ferrari to degree time the cams.
Right.
Angle the cams.
Right.
Just as per factory spec, whatever the spec is naturally on the TR, on the M versus regular Testarossa, your 458, they all varies. So that's a right way of doing it, and that's a wrong way of doing it.
So we got this thing out, timing belts, split the engine, redo the gaskets here, rebuild the water pump.
Yes, the front cover, rebuild the water pump.
Yep.
See, the good thing that you saw it now, see how they did it before?
Yep.
And watch this. I guarantee you see that and that.
Yeah.
So whoever had it, they probably didn't even pull the cam cover. So what they do, they will put these together, clamp them, take a belt off, put the belt back on, send it down the road. But they're forgetting one thing. When this is 40 years old, this will stretch.
Yep.
Once this is stretched, guess what? The cam will move and it will not be timing.
Be out of time.
Timing
Yeah.
is going to be out of timing. Now, it's not going to be out of timing that the car runs badly.
Sure.
But
you're not going to get peak performance.
Exactly.
But you and I talked about this. This car, I could not rev it all the way to the red line.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
I guarantee you that has something to do with it.
Well, probably. A little bit of that. A little bit it was burning oil.
Burning oil.
A little bit it was triggering the slowdown, cutting off the bank, losing the power, and all of that. So
yeah, so a little bit of like 9 things. Okay, got it.
yeah. So like I said, you know, once we do it, you will see. This is how it looks now. Once this go in, it's all going to be nice. It's all going to be painted. And it's going to look like it came off the Ferrari from the shelf. Put back
all of this. This is all going to be cleaned up.
All of
all
this.
look brand new.
You remember, once you put this in, you probably won't see from here. That's all you see from the engine. But that still doesn't change the fact it has to be done right.
For sure. Okay.
Painted, clean. Like I said, besides performing right, the show and all that.
Anything else that's got to be done on this engine before she's ready to be put back in other than what we already talked about?
No.
That's it.
Hopefully it's gonna stay there.
Shit, that should be done in like a day.
Yes, yes.
I don't
in
understand.
About an hour.
Let's turn the camera off. Let's finish my car. I want to drive it home. I'll tell you what. I'll help you out. We'll work together.
Yeah,
right.
By 6 o'clock, I can get
by
him out
6
of
o'clock.
here.
I will listen. I'll tell my wife I'm going to pick her up tonight. We're going to go to dinner in the 512M. You and I are going to get this engine back in, finished up, rebuilt. And all you got to do is spray a little brake cleaner on this. We all know that. And it'll be nice and clean and good to go. Fun part for Harris. This is where I cry on camera. It's about $25,000 every 4 years, roughly. Right?
Yeah, give or take. Exactly.
Give or take how much more Harris can find wrong with the engine. No, kidding. And but I joke like that, but this is a really important point that I really want to drive home. It's not just about the money, okay? It is expensive, yes it is. These are high performance cars, older technology. They're phenomenal for what they could do in its time. I think these cars are worth every dime of that if you can afford it, because give me this car, give me a 348, give me a 355, a 360, of course F40 and the hypercars, that goes without saying, but give me these older cars. I think they're much more fun to drive. They got much more character. There's so much more driver involvement. They don't have all the, and I get it, what we've had to do. We've got a lot of more cars are much more safe these days, but as they get more and more perfected, and I don't think it's really the safety stuff, I think cars get more and more perfected, they begin to lose some of their feel, some of their character. They begin to feel a little numb to me, and when I talk to people that I consider true drivers, I think they tend to feel the same way. That being said, so about 25 grand. Unfortunately, things didn't go that well for me. Listen, it's to be expected, and it is, I have to own some of that because the way I drive the cars. We're looking at closer to a $50,000 invoice to get my beautiful 512M back on the road. That is a lot of money. But when you work with someone that you know is going to give you the right advice, they're going to take good care of you. They care and take pride in their work. They're trustworthy. Because listen, at the end of the day, this is very rare. I'm not up here every day. When you have one of my cars and you almost always have something of the collection.
Exactly.
There's almost always at least one, sometimes 3 or 4 cars you're getting things done. I'm not here looking at everything that Harris is doing. He's got a tremendous reputation. We've got a great relationship, a lot of trust, and a lot of integrity. And I know that he's got tremendous passion for these cars. I think he cares for these cars every bit as much as me or any other owner that you have as customers. And that goes a long way when somebody's handing you a $25,000 or a $50,000 bill to know that things were done right. They care about how that car performs. They care about your safety going down the road. And most importantly, I would say, I think you genuinely care about our enjoyment of ownership of these cars.
Exactly, you have to, because like I said, a lot of people, it's a one thing to buy this car.
Yeah.
But trust me, it's a whole another thing to maintain it properly.
Sure. That is for sure.
And, they are worth a lot of money. So, you have to put in it.
Yep.
In order to get everything out of it at the other end.
Absolutely. That is for sure.
Yes.
And that's like anything in life, right? So with that, now you have the answer. About 25 grand every 4 years. Of course, by luck, it's double, 50 grand. But we'll get the car back on the road. And I know that at a minimum for the next 4 years, the car is as perfect as it was when it rolled off the assembly line.
Exactly.
Because I really recommend this to people. And this is something that I've just come to learn when I buy older cars. And I buy them because I develop a passionate connection with that car and I want to enjoy it. If you fix a little bit, and then it breaks again, and then it's back in the shop. Then you fix a little bit, then it breaks again, it's back in the shop. Just buy the car, know the history of the car, and whatever work needs to be done, that's fine. It's just part of ownership. Get it all done at once. When I get this car back, hopefully in the next 2 weeks.
Yes, something
2 weeks?
like that.
Okay, something like that. More like 10 days. We get the car back. I know that everything is done. I get to really drive and enjoy this car for the next 4 years without a care in the world. It's going to be reliable. It's going to be fun. It's going to perform the way that it did when it was brand new. And when, whether my wife and I are in that car or when my kids are going and doing something in that car, I know that it's safe and I get to enjoy it and it gets to continue to feed my passion. So with that, we've got more cars to talk about that I need to send to this man. So my build doesn't stop here. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Harris.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate you, buddy.